Hello, I'm Vonda High, and welcome back to Joyful Weddings. Today we're going to talk about designing the look and feel of your wedding. It's very important to understand what your look and feel is going to be before you go out and select your florist or your photographer. Everything needs to be cohesive and work together in the planning of your wedding. So, the first step is you sit down with everyone who has veto power. I find it very helpful to sit down with that group of people who are going to have veto power and ask them what their priorities are, what their dreams are, how do they envision the day, and everyone sits down in a very respectful way and communicates how they're feeling. It is at that point where you can then begin looking at the whole day and figuring out where either compromises are going to be made, or you might be doing something that's a little different than what you thought of, but it's going to really make your grandmother happy, so therefore it's important to integrate it. Obviously, the wedding is the couple's day, but if someone is paying for a part of it or paying for all of it, they do have a right to have an opinion, and an opinion that needs to be listened to, respected, and if you disagree, talk about how to develop a compromise based on it. So start with that element of who's paying for what and what is important to them. Sometimes that's as simple as saying, my partner's parents really are into music. They want to pay for the musicians, so you give them that element, and they get to pick the band or the DJ and create that element in the wedding, and it makes them feel really good about the decision. Sometimes it's more complicated, where the couple wants a very fun, casual barbecue in the backyard, but the parents want something more traditional or elegant. Then you've got an area where you've got to have some real communication. I'll give you an example. Several years ago, I did a wedding where the bride and groom both had very stressful jobs, and they really wanted their wedding to just be fun and casual, and they really did envision it, pull out the Weber grill and let's do a barbecue in the backyard. Now, we were doing this for 200 people, which adds a complexity, but the parents really wanted something far more elegant. Not black tie, but just more elegant. In getting everyone together and talking about what their dreams were and getting them to explain what that really meant, we discovered that the parents didn't necessarily want a black tie event, they just wanted quality. So it was important to them to have food that had quality as opposed to platters from a deli. They wanted to have waitstaff who were well-trained and could serve properly. And they wanted to have dishes and the way things were served nicely done as opposed to a plastic platter. And certainly putting out food on a plastic platter can be fabulous and perfect, but that wasn't what the parents wanted in their vision. So we found a way to compromise and combine both elements. We did have a barbecue in the backyard. We had checkered cloths, and we had very casual flowers and an open-air tent. But we had a caterer who was a very fine caterer with fabulous food and a very well-trained waitstaff. We served the food on platters family style. The platters were beautiful, they fit into the decor, and the food was put in the middle of the table, and then the guests would pass it around family style, and that created a very wonderful informality and a fun aspect that the bride and groom really liked. So we found a way to combine all the elements that all the people wanted and do it so that everyone was happy, and the wedding was very successful. It just required communication to truly understand what everyone meant by their requests. Another situation that often happens is mixing elements. Just because you're having a black tie or a formal wedding doesn't mean that every aspect about the wedding is black tie. You can actually integrate fun or informal elements into a very formal wedding. A great example. Several years ago, I had a bride who had a very formal wedding at a very distinguished, elegant, old world, kind of gold guild kind of place. And as we were talking with the chef and we were designing the menu, she requested to have Lay's potato chips with onion dip out of the can at the bar as bar food. And of course, the chef, just the blood drained out of his face, and he's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And the bride was absolutely insistent, and she was right. It was her favorite snack food. All of her friends and family knew that it was her favorite food. And when we put the literally Lay's potato chips and onion dip out of the tin on this beautiful, elegant bar in this gold gilt setting, everyone thought it was fabulous. It really enhanced the wedding because it reflected who that bride was and what she liked, and all of the guests loved it. So don't think that everything with a wedding has to be one way. If you're doing hay bales in your backyard and everybody is in jeans and t-shirts, that doesn't mean you can't add a formal element. So don't feel restricted to just one way of being. I often have couples who, when they say, well, we're getting married, how do weddings work? As if somehow weddings have a rule book or a list of very strict protocol that you have to stay within. You don't. There are elements about weddings that need to be understood or respected, but it is not a strict guideline. The best weddings are those that reflect who the couple is and who their family is. So remember, you as a person have many aspects to your personality. You are not just one thing. Your wedding doesn't have to be just one thing either. It can also include many different aspects. Enjoy the day. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit about how to design a wedding, and I hope that you will join me next time when we're going to talk about how you pick a band or a DJ. Please follow me on social media, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.